My friends, I'm opening the first 50 spots for something new I've built, the Mental Fitness Blueprint. It's not content, it's not a course, it's a personalized operating system for your mind, built from everything I've learned through thousands of conversations, interviews, and years of practice. If you feel like this is for you, follow that curiosity, and details are in the show notes or at mchampagne.com. Geoff, who are you?
Great question. I'm thinking about the first call that we had, which was like a meeting of the names.
Yes.
As we got on the call, you said to me, "Your name is amazing." And I'm like, "You too, man." Right? Like, drinking glass to that. And
Absolutely.
who am I? Geoff Blades. I'm from Australia. My work, my work is about going for it. So the reason that I'm so obsessed with these topics of the mind and your focus on mental fitness is because when I stepped back from my career on Wall Street, I started asking these new questions, these big, hard questions for me. Before this, I thought I'd be at Goldman Sachs for the rest of my life. And then this was in the dot-com boom and bust in Silicon Valley, 2000. Half the office was laid off. And I stepped back from my career and I just started asking questions like, is this the life that you truly want? Is this the life you dreamed as a kid? What do you truly want? And I didn't know.
Wow.
I didn't know. And that started this new journey for me 25 years ago. And who am I? I'm an explorer of these topics. I'm obsessed with these topics. I'm obsessed with how you create the life you truly want, how you think and feel how you truly want, how we create a better world.
Speaking my language, brother. Speaking my language. I love
I
it.
know.
So if I would have asked you that who am I question back in those Goldman Sachs days, how different of it, like what would the answer have been?
Excellent question. It all would have depended on when, because you think about it this way, and I have these conversations a lot with Wall Street or other people. Many people feel stuck in these careers that they have now. These jobs that even 15 years ago, 5 years ago, they dreamed to be in. They dreamed they would have given their left arm for, and only years later, they're stepping back and saying, is this it? I had a conversation the other night with a portfolio manager on Wall Street, and I didn't know the guy. He came up to me and he said to me, I looked at your website and your question on there really grabbed me. Is this the life I truly want? And I said to him, what do you think?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So if you had asked me 3 years into my career, that would have been the answer. Is this it? I don't know. If you'd asked me 2 years before that, I would have said, I'm a lifer. In fact, there's a good buddy of mine, Peter, where he always reminds me, even to this day, when I interviewed him for a job at Goldman as an analyst, I said to him, Pete, I'm a lifer. 3 years later, I'm stepping back saying, what do you truly want? Is this the life you truly want?
Yeah.
Who are any of us, Mark? But these questions, like I'll put it to you, what is this topic of behind the human?
It's a good question. I mean, it's the reason I asked the who am I question and the reason we start from that place is just to avoid the automatic kind of knee-jerk response of this is like it's not who am I, it's what do you do usually, right? And I do this, this, and this, and it's an easy way to answer a question, but I noticed, especially when you know a bit of my backstory, and of course, some of the I imagine the listeners do as well. But when I was going through my challenging time of shutting down a business and so forth, what one of the big reflections that came through was my identity was really hung up around this whole, at that time, this health tech app. And now that it was gone, I was really lost, and made a promise to myself at that point to really stay clear around I'm not gonna let that happen again. I mean, there's more to me than just, of course, one product or service, and really stay true to who I am around just kinda like you being an explorer, but I would say for me, just showing up curious every day and continuing to ask questions. 'Cause when you unlock the the language of questions in your life, I mean, so much just opens up, right? I feel like
Yeah.
as soon as we stop asking questions, we're slowly starting to die inside.
Mm,
And it doesn't have to be like that, of course. But and that's what this show, to answer your question more directly, this show is really all about surfacing just good quality questions along with practices and rituals and so forth to help us, train our minds to work for us instead of against us, which is, I think, directly in line with your work. Before we hit record, right, you were saying essentially like, a thriving, healthy mind is also a thriving, healthy life, and the opposite is also true. So how did you get to that? Like,
that's it.
how did you even get to the point of I am no longer a lifer and I want to be doing the work that you're doing right now?
The hard way.
Yeah, fair.
How do you get to any of these things? The hard way.
Yeah,
And a lot of what you're talking about here, because the question I was asking was, what do you truly want? So come back to what you said about asking good questions, and you used a very subtle word, which is surface. We're like, who is the I asking the you questions? There's a sliver of consciousness that we have, a sliver of conscious awareness, and it's like a tiny window into what we really are. Like when you ask me who I am, I think of us as the human, as the GUI, as the user interface. So if
yeah,
you went onto your phone or you went onto your computer and you got your little app, eh, the human is that pretty little picture. That's the surface level. But when you click on Microsoft Word, for instance, you've got these nice looking words on the page, but look at all that intelligence that's happening beneath the surface. This is the human. So when you talk about behind the human, this is what I think of. And when I come back to my original question, what do I truly want? Just think about how silly these questions are for a moment, because how could you not know what you want? Who is
yeah,
the I that doesn't know what I want? And really, we're at a very, very deep topic here, because we're now at the nexus of these topics like you choose your thoughts.
hmm
How many times do you come across these topics? They're everywhere in all self help, all spirituality, religion, so forth. Yet, if that was true, why would anyone be depressed? Why would anyone be anxious? Why would anyone choose to live in fear? Because it's not quite as simple as you choose your thoughts. How exactly do you do it? This is what I'm obsessed with. How
yeah,
do you actually do it? So when I'm stepping back from my career at Goldman Sachs, I've gone from waking up in high school as a kid in suburban Melbourne, Victoria, and just one day getting serious about school. That made me obsessed with school to the point that I got top grades and top grades at uni, got this only job at Goldman Sachs. So getting to Goldman Sachs in itself was this enormous leap for me, a near impossible leap. Yet a few years later, I'm stepping back and I'm saying, is this it? And by all measure, it's an amazing career. But I keep going back to when I was a kid, jumping up and down, saying, I just want to do what I want, Mark. I just want to live the life I truly want. So, what is that? And the long, short answer to your question is, when I started asking these questions, I went and started reading self help. I'd never read self help to get from working class Melbourne, Australia to Goldman Sachs. Like, honestly, that was easy for me. Linear, certain goals where you can just crank 100 hours a week. That's easy for me. At Goldman, though, when I'm stepping back and I'm asking the big questions, what do you truly want? Where do you find these answers? Go talk to a career coach where you work for Goldman Sachs. So you've got to be able to somehow, as you say, get to the right questions, get to the right answers. And what I would say, build a rigorous method that you work all the way from beginning to end.
So how
Is
did
that
you approach it? Where did you start? You started reading self-help, self-development. work and so forth, but where I guess what were some of those earlier books or topics that really took you, from that place to where you are today? And maybe it was a similar experience to what you had as a kid, as where you woke up the one day and had that switch flip, right? And you just went for it. Because it feels like you just kind of went for it, knowing a bit of your backstory and the work that you do. Like, you're going deep on these topics, which is awesome.
Well, I read thousands of books over 6 years before I
Mm,
left Goldman. The reason I
okay.
left Goldman was because I still didn't have the answer. Because I went and read thousands of these books, and what do they tell you? You gotta have a goal. Man, if you don't know what you want, how are you gonna get it? It seems obvious. Yeah, so how do you figure out what you want? Oh, you gotta follow your passion. Well, if you don't know what your passion is, how do you find it? Right, listen, it's full of all of this stuff that sounds as good as you choose your thoughts. But when you get down to it, how do you actually do it? The first book I read was a book called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by a woman named Lynn Grabhorn. And basically, Mark, the irony is that I went from a Goldman Sachs person. I didn't go read biographies of Warren Buffett or Rockefeller. I went and started reading New Age self help. And I don't even know why. Other than what I would share with you is I think because whatever the path is, it's this path that we're talking about here, which is at
Mm,
some level, deeper level, maybe I had an understanding or maybe I needed to get an understanding that it all comes back to the mind. These answers are somewhere inside of you. How do you extract them out? How do you build rigorous method so you can just keep driving forward while you're figuring them out? Because these are the sorts of questions that keep people stuck. And then they end up in the wrong questions, what are called endless loop questions like, why is this happening to me?
yeah, they can sink you,
Versus,
those questions.
right.
Yeah.
What are some of those questions that you've seen that keep people stuck?
Oh, never mind me seeing people. I mean, I asked them myself, and in the during that really tough time in my life, and there were questions like, how could I fail at such a colossal level? What would people think? You
Mm,
know, uh, having kind of showing up kind of the tail between my legs, so to speak, and how would I support my family at that time? So these were all just, I mean, I think valid questions, but to your point, you can easily get stuck in a tailspin if those are the only kind of questions you're asking. And if you don't have a way to pause them and jump into what I would say higher quality or higher frequency questions, like, you can learn from the scenario, of course, but how am I gonna support my family is not as good as, well, let's figure out, to your point, what is it that lights me up? Why am I like, what am I here to do, and start carving a path towards that, and all of the other stuff usually starts to come together. But really hard to do that when you're asking, negative tailspin type questions, and puts you in this survival state of mind. You can't think clearly from that place, right? You
you're
can try
right.
to force it, but it doesn't normally happen, and you know this as well as me. I mean, most teams, most organizations and leaders are in that survival state more often than not, and I think that's where you and I have a real shared mission around. First of all, it doesn't have to be like that. Secondly, I think we deserve to feel great more days than not, and when we do, good things typically happen, and to your point, there's ways to get out of this. So, the how part, you're right, no one really talks about. I mean, I shouldn't say no one. There's less conversation around, well, how do I actually do it? And that's what I'd love to get from you, because I know this is your wheelhouse. Like, so for you, like, how did you're reading the books, sounds like you're starting to work towards a system, and I know you speak in systems and so forth, but, like, practically speaking, what was your step process, or what was your recipe?
You know, the truth is, I didn't get it.
Mm,
I started reading all these books and I read thousands of them, like being a top student in school. I was the greatest student. Give me a whole bunch of stuff, I'll memorize it and I'll regurgitate it back to you and get great grades. It's like reading books on mindfulness, thinking you know what mindfulness is. It's like reading books on a bench press, thinking that it's going to get you strong. And so for me, the first 6 years of the work was still, what do I truly want? How do I get it? And I read all these books and I'm like, where are the damn answers? Because it was all just, frankly, just beta level, basic, obvious stuff for me. And I shouldn't say that negatively because there's a lot of great fundamentals. They were just repeated over and over and over and over versus, hey, where's the real stuff? Where are the real answers? I took 18 months off. I left Wall Street, figuring that if I go on an adventure and I go travel the world, I was training mixed martial arts every day. I was doing all sorts of things, reading a bunch more, thinking I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't. All the same things. What's that method? All I did was kept reading, kept writing to a point of journaling. Thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of summaries from books that I was thinking like a student, Mark. Oh, here's 40 pages on mindset. You choose your thoughts. Perception is projection. Yeah, it all sounds so good. But how do you actually do it? I wasn't even there yet. I had to go a whole nother chapter or skip through to go back to Wall Street, to leave again, to be now doing what I want. After all these years, 11 years of struggling, trying to figure it out, what do I truly want? Now I'm doing what I want. And I thought and felt by far worse than ever in my life.
Mm.
Because the error that I made was, I refer to this as the getting there program. And the error is, when I get there, in psychology, they call it the hedonic treadmill. When I get there, then I'll feel this. The other way that we refer to it in our school of therapy is the opposite of object teaching, meaning this machine objectifies, so it believes when I have that experience, when I get that thing, now I have permission to feel it. It's the most logical thing, but it's the most catastrophic thing for the whole species. Because the feeling you can feel now, even though the brain knows you don't have that new car or new shoes or whatever, it's entirely separate to the feeling. You can feel right now that you have a new car. It doesn't demand having the car to have the feeling. It's only the brain that thinks it does. So how do you reverse all these things? How do you orient the brain exactly where you want it to be? 15 years ago, I didn't even know. All I knew was, damn, all these years I've been dreaming to do what I want. Now I'm doing what I want. I'm writing this book. I'm living the life I truly want. And I feel like hell. And by the way, I've read thousands of books, so I know what I'm talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, but that's the trap that a lot of people don't speak about, and it's also a topic I'm exploring right now because you 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 pick up all these practices, you read the books, as you say, and then what a lot of people don't say or share as a disclaimer is like you're gonna feel a hell of a lot more because you're boosting your self-awareness. Now that you're not on the right, like you can feel when you're off, but to your point, you don't have the solution, and it can feel worse, right? So, I guess, the audience right now, as am I, are probably just dying to, like, well, then what worked for you? Like, what was that puzzle piece that you needed that flipped the script?
Obsession. Like every second for the last 15 years on this topic. And I'm not exaggerating, meaning that there was something much deeper that happened to me. And I don't want to offend anyone, but I will say, with all the work I had done and mainstream psychologists I had met, I never expected that was a doorway. I just never expected that going and spending time with them would help solve my thing. So where did I go? To the hypnotist. I found
Mm.
some hypnotists and I went and started studying hypnosis. And then I went and studied neuro-linguistic programming. Then I went all the way through those schools and spent time with the founders and stuff. Because what I started to understand, back to where we started on the surface level and the deep level, is that you got all this surface level stuff going on, and we haven't hit the data on this shit, but the neuroscience of this thing is having some 80,000 thoughts a day, 80 to 90% negative and redundant. Just knowing that, Mark, just knowing that, you at least have an understanding of the scale of the problem,
Yeah, well said.
right?
Yeah.
Just knowing that. The heart beats 100,000 times a day. Imagine trying to pay attention to every beat of the heart.
Mm.
And the problem with this machine is these are automatic thoughts. If you go deep into our school, we would call them automatic brain chatter. They're not thoughts. It's automaticity flowing from the machine, and it's nearly all negative and putrid. So even if you know you choose your thoughts, how? How do I do that? So when I went and trained in NLP and hypnosis, now you're in the real tech. See, I refer to my stuff as human technology. I'm on mission for humanity,
Mm.
especially in this era of AI. If you haven't figured out yet that the future of the human is up here, sorry, this is the
Yeah.
whole game. This is where we're headed. And we're headed into a world that might look like mental warfare. I don't know what it looks like, but what you do know is mind control is the most important skill. Best mind, best life. But mind control and focus, best mind, best actions, best achieving. It's literally holds together the glue of all of this. And when I went and studied hypnosis and NLP, you start to learn the key to this is the pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
The pattern interrupt. In many ways, journaling is a pattern interrupt. In many ways, meditation for people is the pattern interrupt.
Because then you can rewrite that code.
Yes, and most importantly, you can stop it.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
fair.
can stop the deluge. To your point, I love the way you say it on journaling. Slow down the thoughts. One of the things that transformed when I first started 25 years ago, I just started writing it down. It seems like this huge leap. It's so obvious, right? Like I just started writing. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? What do I think I want? When I do this with clients, it seems like this miraculous leap. Well, have you written anything down? No. When I started doing it on the mind, it was the same. And we're talking now thousands of pages of what's going on. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? Now I went for a run. Everything changed. Why? It took me about 5 years of this pattern to figure out exactly what's going on. And that's what led to build the School of Therapy. Then all this stuff is coming back to energy. Best energy, best life. But now you're still back to the same point. So how do you optimize your energy? And to your question, right, and I'm not being evasive, I'm being literal, which is obsession, is you've got to want this. Like a woman wants to be in shape for her wedding day,
Mm.
right? Like you
Yeah.
talk about mental fitness. How many people are physically fit?
Yeah. Yeah, and we know what to do.
And we
It's not a
know
mystery.
exactly. And this comes back to the same place we started. How do you actually do it? Because let me just tell you, on physical fitness, we know exactly what to do. So why am I looking around and seeing a more and more and more obese population when we know exactly what to do? Because it doesn't matter what you know. It's as irrelevant as knowing there's such thing as a bench press. The only thing that matters is how do you actually do it?
Well, how you actually do it, but there's a step before that. It's how you can know how to do it, but then I guess the question is why aren't you doing it? Or how do you get yourself to do it?
Well, I love where you started. Come back to the why. You're exactly right. So start with the why. Why do you want it? So for me
Yeah.
back then, it was, man, I feel like hell. What the hell
Mm.
is going on? I'm doing what I want. Like, this should be the most amazing time of my life. What's going on? I just wanted to feel good. One. Two, I needed to feel good because I was writing a book on doing what you want. How do you write about doing what you want when you feel like crap?
Yeah.
And the other part of this is because the problem was writing was so hard, doing it was so hard. So it's like I'd exchange something that was certain for something highly uncertain. Now I needed to get the brain into gear to be able to do this thing. So you got to come back to your why. Like anyone listening to this, if you really want to work these topics, you got to know why. At the highest level, this is
Yeah.
the most important thing you can do in your life. Every single line of code. I perceive the most important thing we can do in this lifetime is purify the mind. Every single line of code. But this is obviously an extreme target. For many people, it might just be thinking better, feeling better, stopping procrastinating, stopping yourself eating poorly, being in bad relationships. Whatever it is, get so clear on why.
Yeah, then become obsessed. I like the obsession with that because I mean, I think it's a healthy obsession in this case. And I agree. I can see what you're saying. If you don't have that, unfortunately, and I wish this wasn't the case, but then we're put out into kind of the autopilot of society, which we know where that goes. Like we're not doing super well as a species or a society. So, like you can't be like unless you want to become a statistic, you have to be obsessed with not going down that path and knowing that by default, you're not gonna be supported and that, like, you've gotta do it yourself, right?
Beautiful. What does that make you think?
Well, I think 2 things. One, it makes me think there's one aspect to it, around, like, okay, that's gonna be tough, it's gonna be challenging, of course, but also there's a feeling of empowerment there that I think is stronger than anything else that's coming up, and knowing that, yeah, if I can do that, I can do anything,
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's
right?
right. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And if you put it in the lens of obsession, think of it like an Olympic athlete.
Mm,
There's there's this target for them that matters more than everything in their life. Like I saw a statistic, you might know this. I won't make it up, but it was something like call it 15% of Olympic level athletes. The question was, if you could take a drug that would get you a gold medal, but you would certainly die after, would you take it? Their answer was yes. Because what matters so much to them is their mission, is their target.
yeah.
Everything they eat, every single workout, all day, every day, their mind is laser focused on that target. If your target is the mind, it's such a slippery slope. If you're really obsessed with perfecting this thing, well, to start with, you got this 80% negativity bias. All right, so the deck is heavily stacked against me. This is why, for me, we got rid of the TV a decade ago. I never listen to music. I never tune into media. Basically, I've cut out, we haven't used the phrase yet, I've cut out all low vibrating signal from the world because the world, you nailed it from the context of a team. And this is one of the huge issues in a company. Many leaders don't get it, that their employees are in fight or flight. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they run the company. So
yeah.
their employees are in fight or flight and they wonder why their cognitive function is diminished. And you look at the world that we're in, you might even say, and I wouldn't go down this rabbit hole, but you might even say our world is managed for low vibration. It's managed with fear. And so
Oh, yeah.
if you're obsessed with these topics, you got to be always on it. And then if you're not, if you just want it a little bit, like someone who just wants to be healthy and in good shape, or the woman who wants to be in great shape to get married, build your process accordingly. Because you don't need to be as obsessed as we're talking about it. You just need that level of focus that enables you to achieve the target.
Yeah. Where does the I've heard you speak about the 3 energy systems. Where does that come into play with what you're describing right now?
If I drop down into it, what I would share with you is pay attention to what's happening in you right now. There's feelings in the body. Your awareness is localized somewhere. Often we localize our awareness in the head. So you know the notion where attention goes, energy flows.
Mhm.
This is why anxiety, for instance, because people localize, like their locus of attention is here versus if you put it in the chest, like you learn in meditation or vipassana, as you move it around, you're shifting energy. What should have been obvious to me, and you see it more and more now, is I've always worked out a lot. And when my brain was the hardest, Mark, even when I was moving, I moved and I lived in Vail, Colorado. I was skiing. This was the hardest time of my life. I'm in Vail, Colorado, skiing, doing what I want, writing a book, living the life I dreamed, but it was the hardest in my mind. And we haven't hit this paradigm. It's principle 2 in our school of therapy, which is, because what took me a whole bunch of time to figure out is you have an external life and you have this internal life experience we were talking about. And they're two totally separate things, which is why people with fabulous lives can be miserable and people with miserable lives can feel fabulous. They're entirely separate things. So I had all these days, Mark, I'm in Vail, one of the best seasons on record, waking up with powder days. Oh, and I'll do it for you. Oh, I don't feel like skiing. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's the low vibrating voice. So what we didn't go to before is that some of us are auditory dominant. It means we've got this voice in our head all the time. Some of us are more visually dominant, so we've got more pictures. When you understand the core architecture of what's happening up here, now you can play with it. Do you see my point? Which is when people let you choose your thoughts, well, are you talking about the voice or are you talking about pictures? Unless you get precise to it, you're never going to get to the answer anyway. And I see this all the time. All these people try to reprogram affirmations with visual programming. This is why it takes a level of mastery and obsession to really be able to do this. And so even on these days when I didn't feel like skiing, what would happen 5 minutes after I left the house? Oh, man, I'm feeling
Yeah.
amazing. Wow, what happened? Now I moved back to New York. Day after day, okay, I'm still feeling like heck, but I'm running and I run stairs. I'm running the stairs. And every time, wow, now I just think I feel amazing. I wonder what happened. And the long story short, I figured out is that, hey, this voice up here, I don't want to go in here, but I'll just say it, is vibration. They call it an inner voice, but it doesn't have vocal cords. So what is it? If you didn't speak a language, what would that internal communication be?
Whew, is that yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're asking me, but my mind goes to like some level of consciousness that feels unhelpful because I think there is a whole other layer of consciousness that you can tap into that is actually the opposite and can guide you. And when you're quiet enough, you can hear that guidance and so forth. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I love what you did there. Yeah, I love what you said there. There's some deeper level of knowing, intuition, like the gut brain, whatever it is. Even Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich called this a transceiver of thought.
Yeah.
It's not an originator of thought. And if you go real deep, we've talked about the simulation a little bit. If you go real deep into the nature of reality, quantum physics, what is all of this? What's the
Yeah.
power of intention in quantum physics? How does that make sense relative to just basic Newtonian? And what you find somewhere around, if you dig deep enough and you get obsessed enough, is that when you change the energy, you change the thoughts, Mark. I'm going to
Yeah.
lose the mic a bit, but it's like this. All right, so when you bounce up and down, I'm going to feel different and have different thoughts.
Yeah.
But now get to the principle. Because when you get to the principle, or one of the principles, one of the two hidden levers, when you get that that's energy, now what do? Get obsessed about energy. So now you build energy management system. The 3 types of energies, a long story short, physical energy. The 80-20 on energy isn't high vibrating energy like Napoleon Hill talked about. The 80-20 is physical energy. If you've got no sleep, you're not going to have high vibrating energy. So point 1 is high physical energy and all the architecture of that. I don't believe the 8 hours sleep rubbish. There's so much rubbish out there just to say it. So much rubbish and dogma versus tests. The key to this whole game, it's personal development. It's personal. You got all these marketers telling you their little morning routine, but no, it's personal. It's
Yeah, yeah.
you. As you said earlier, it's your method. It's not Jeff's method, not Mark's method. It's your method. It comes back to you running your own brain. There's no book to read on this. There's a manual, there's an operating manual for you to manually operate this thing that no one ever hands you. Vibrating energy, I don't like the phrase, I just don't have a better one, but it's like emotional energy, right? You can be angry energy, which is high physical energy, but low vibrating energy. You can be anxiety, or you can be love and joy and full, whole, complete, and all these things is emotion. And the third is spiritual energy, which again, I don't love the thing because I don't like the, I've read thousands of books in spirituality. I've gone deep down all these Eastern rabbit holes or whatnot, but I don't like them as schools of thinking, for instance. I just see it's all just knowledge. And ultimately, spiritual energy has all these connotations versus just attached to something bigger than you.
Yeah, that's well said.
Use it to cool energy. Use it to, you see what we're saying? Just find as much energy as you can and boom, drive it into what matters most to you.
So then, if I'm hearing you correctly, for you personally, because I also subscribe to, this is not about providing a recipe or, do these 5 steps and you'll get this. I mean, there's benefit, I think, that everyone can take from that, but I'm of the belief or of the thought process of let's share what has worked for you, and then there'll be other people around here that will be like, oh, I can pull from that that resonates and so forth. But what I'm hearing is you you've equipped yourself with enough knowledge and various schools of thought, practices, methodologies, and so forth to have tools that when you know that you're and then again, without judgment, you just know the mind's gonna go off on a tangent of 85,000 thoughts, and it's like it's almost like we can't trust the mind to just be running us. So, if we know that, sounds like running, exercise, I mean, anything really physical can shake that physical state, but it's having a list or having an operating plan that you don't have to think about in the moment that pauses, resets, and brings you back into kind of that higher vibration. Am I saying
Beautiful.
that correctly or what am I
Beautiful.
missing?
You're nailing it. You're nailing it, which is ultimately what I decoded from reading thousands of books. And this was my first book on how do you go for what you want. You
Yeah.
don't need all this noise. What you need are highly systematic methods of continuous improvement that you put to work better and better and better every single day. Like the way you build a business, like the
Yeah.
program I built on Musk and Bezos, like they get to space. Highly systematic methods for training your brain and maybe body, mind, whatever your language is, but for inner work, highly systematic methods. And when you're hearing from me is rigorous testing, meaning I've tested thousands and thousands of tools. I've trained tens of thousands of hours of hypnosis and meditation. And what I've refined it to is a very specific set of tools. My whole day is organized around a system called Ultimate Days. And the Ultimate Days system works in cycles of mind and actions because you see what we're at. What I'm saying is, all right, if I sit down and write for 4 hours, if I hit the flow state, if I pull that, I can lock in. Maybe I can't though. Maybe I can just get an hour of production. Great. Get up 10 minutes, get into the best mind and run mind cycle, action cycle, mind cycle, action cycle over and
Mm.
over again because what we're saying is the Venn diagram of mind and action is top performance. Man, just like a pro athlete, everyone gets this in terms of pro athletes. What do we say? Oh, it's 90% a mental game. No such thing. It's 100%. If the mind isn't there, you are not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the
And we see
same
it all
in
the time.
all the time. It's
Yeah.
just a fact. Same in life, same in business, same in these topics we're talking about of how you think and feel your best for doing your best.
Mm. So why don't we we have we're I'm not surprised. We were blowing through time here in all the good ways, but I do wanna kinda double click or narrow in or go a little bit deeper on the ultimate day? Like how for those listening, are there any questions that you could suggest or guidance around maybe even starting with mapping out what that ultimate day looks like and some of the systems that could be helpful?
You know where I think we should go is let's close the loop on exactly how we do this, the method that we're talking about, and come back to ultimate days because it's baked
Sure.
into today. And the
Okay.
system and what people can download from my website is a book called Building Your Limitless Mind.
Okay.
And the reason I'm sharing this with you, Mark, is it's a free download because this was the original chapter from my first book for Doing What You Want. And it just ended up so massive that we paired the chapter and then we put out a separate book because where you see where I'm going in the architecture is goals, mind, actions, round and round and round and round. This is what Ultimate Days looks like too. Goals, mind, action. How do you lock this mind piece in? And the system for building your limitless mind is all the stuff we talked about earlier, which is what I figured out is, man, so I've gone and read thousands of these books. You've got all these tools, but how do you do it? All right, so you've got these affirmations and visualizations and hypnosis. You got body tools like somatic psychology or polyvagal stuff. Frankly, Mark, a lot of my mindset tools don't come back to this at all. They come back to taking an action in the world that becomes the convincer for the mind.
Hmm.
And what you see in the book for your limitless mind is a very, very short understanding of what we're talking about here. It doesn't matter what you know. It does not matter what you know. You've got this machine running 80,000 thoughts a day, and nearly all of them are negative, in a world that's nearly all negative, surrounded by people who are nearly all negative.
Yeah.
So you need a way to actually do it. And what you see in the Building a Limitless Mind book is the system, is the method I built. And there's only 3 steps. It's what you said before. You got to start with why. If you don't know why you're doing this, it doesn't matter what books you read. You're not going to do the work. That's why we come back to, we talked about on our first call, the metaphor of weight loss, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Metaphor of weight loss. What's more simple? It's so simple. Eat better, exercise more. It's so simple. Okay, so why do we have trillions of dollars of industry around weight loss? Because actually doing it is near impossible. Why? It's you. What, you can't change how you eat and exercise? Yeah, that's what we're gaming. That's the game we're playing. That's how hard it is being a human. Great. So what's your method? And there's 3 steps in the Limitless Mind method. Choose your thinking, performance tools, and a system, a process. Literally just like going to the gym, Mark. And people say to me all the time, we talk about this, oh, you can't talk about like fitness. People hate fitness. Yeah, they're not like people. They're not like people. If they're not
Yeah.
going to do that, they're not my people. Because what we're talking about is building a training system for your brain. Getting
Mm.
very clear on what you want to change. Step 1. Step 2, knowing exactly what tools do it for you. Are they affirmations? Probably not. Is it journaling? Might be. Is it hypnosis? All depends. Is it some version of psychology? Maybe. Is it visualizing? Maybe. Is it bouncing up and down, change your energy, going for a run, going and lifting? Whatever it is, that's what you got to figure out. What are those tools that are right for you? 3, your systematic method for doing it every day.
Is that
This
just scheduling?
Kind of, but it comes back to, this is why I wanted to bake it into the ultimate day system, because the ultimate day system is not time management, it's energy management.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
for instance, what happens first? So most of the time, and this is look for Wall Street, people I work with, most of our calendars become our time. Literally back to back all day are my clients. So imagine what we're talking about that was structural. During COVID, one of my clients was going crazy because he was sitting at home on Zooms all the time. He's a very senior investment banker. Mark, it's not a joke to say, Geoff, what am I going to do? By the way, I hadn't been working with him for 6 months. Calls me up. I'm feeling really bad. What's going on? And we need to talk about, I just had him do 10 push-ups between every Zoom call. I'm not
Mm.
kidding. Because what
Yeah.
happens is you're sitting there, the energy drops, and then the inner voice drops into more negative crap because it's now running on lower vibrating energy. Push ups, pump the energy up, get back to high energy, you change all the thoughts. So the
Yeah.
system for ultimate days and this tooling we're talking about, three types of tooling. One, what you would call evolutionary tools like meditation. Bake that in. When are you going to do it? For me, it's hypnosis. I'm not so much into meditation. Two, daily exercises. What are you going to do every single day? Maybe it's the run. Might not be anything related to the mind. It's the run, or it's affirmations, or it's reading. It might be a religious text, journaling.
Yeah.
But the third bucket are my favorite, man. They're the ATFT tools. And the
All the
eight,
fucking time.
all the fucking time.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
fucking time. You ask me, how did I do this obsession? And the
Yeah.
reason that I built a school of therapy beyond NLP and hypnosis is because I started to see all these things like, no, it's about energy. So you better have a system for it. And I also saw NLP and hypnosis are very powerful at changing patterns. I want to change every line of code. I mean, it's amazing to a psychologist that you can delete someone's PTSD with hypnosis, or you can
Yeah.
stop smoking in one session. Most shrinks can't even understand that. In hypnosis, this
Yeah.
stuff is really obvious. But where we're taking it to is every single thought. I've got 80,000 of these flowing. I want to be in control. This is about mind control, or at least to the best of your ability.
Yeah. I
So
love
the
it.
ATFT tooling, you've hit on it a number of times. Stop, wake up. Like imagine this as an anchor. Stop like a stop sign, wake up.
Mhm.
What are you stopping? Stop the automatic thoughts, wake up into your grandest reality.
Well said. Mic drop there. Yeah. Yeah, and just equip like, what I'm hearing is equip your internal and external environment to to thrive. Like,
Nice.
it's just surround you so for me, I mean, it's checking in the morning when, like, my cup of coffee is brewing and just, smelling the beans, the fresh coffee, but then beside the coffee machine, there's some Stoic philosophy there, like, it's everywhere, right? Versus because the opposite is true too. If we're not intentional, to your point, like the TV or social media or all the opposite low vibe kind of frequencies will get you. So it's like you've got to counteract that and over index, frankly, and just surround yourself everywhere. And I love your energy to where I mean, clearly you live and breathe and practice what you preach because you can feel your energy towards the entire conversation and topic. And it's comes I know we talked about this, I think, at the beginning of the conversation, but the word being or the intention or feeling of just feeling empowered, like, that's what's
Mhm.
coming to mind as we were kinda wrapping this conversation.
Yeah,
Just feels empowering to know that, okay, if my mission is really to literally rewrite almost all of the code in my mind, yeah, sure, that feels like a big task, but it also feels like it's possible, and what a journey to be on, and the ripple effect of that is exponential.
you're right.
That's pretty damn cool.
That is pretty damn cool. You're right. And how empowering is it to just know you have a choice?
Yeah.
To just know, because even the notion of mind control, I mean, that's a very lofty goal. What I'm saying on purifying every thought, that's a really lofty goal considering that this thing's having 80,000 mostly negative thoughts a day. But I want to know what the limits are, Mark. I want to know just what is possible. And to your point, like ultimate days, my system for doing what you want, system for building a limitless mind became a whole school of therapy because you just need these two methods. You need a method for achieving the life you truly want and a method for thinking and feeling how you want. And when
Yeah.
you've got these methods, like you just run them out every day. You just run the methods as perfectly as you can every day, getting better and better and better. And that's your life. And these methods have to be hardcore because the game's working against you. Like the
Yeah.
focus thing, as you said. All right, you're gonna You're going to have this machine in your head yammering away all day. So, well, one, nearly every human thinks they are that machine. So they're identified with it. It's saying I, and they think that's who they are. Which, I mean, look at all the mental illness in our world. You can see it comes back to the identifying. And two, understanding that just like your heart, you can alter it. You can slow it down. You can speed it up. You can choose the content that's in here. And the most amazing thing about the neuroplasticity is every time you change, it gets a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. This is why we're building a limitless mind. What are the limits? How do we know? As far as I can tell, no humans tested them. Not even close from what I can tell.
Inspiring, Mr. Blades. Best last name ever, but inspiring. I mean, I have a feeling we're gonna have a part 2, part 3, part 4 probably in the future or near future, but at least for now, I'm really grateful we're able to connect and have this conversation and just jam on a topic that I think, well, affects all of us, and I really do think is the future. I know we're biased, but I mean, just seeing everything that's happening in the world and where we're going, if you can take control of this mind, I mean, it is the ultimate superpower and just unlocks so many beautiful things. And frankly, what's the alternative? Would you rather just be living in fear and scarcity and wondering like, well, are we gonna have a job? Is the planet gonna self-destruct? I mean, that's not a fun place to be. So I'd rather take the other side of that. So thank you for bringing us tools and perspectives and teachings and wisdom on this topic. And I'll link to your work. I mean, it's a free download, everyone. I mean, at the very least, go get that download and explore. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me. Great to see you.